Many of the Jews that today live in the reconstituted state of Israel come from Eastern Europe, are not descendants of the Judeans or the lost tribes of Israel, but rather descendants of the Khazars. Who were they? They were a nation most people do not even know of. He writes, the so-called self-styled Jews in Eastern Europe in modern history cannot legitimately point to a single ancient ancestor who ever set even a foot on the soil of Palestine in the era of Bible history. Research also revealed that the so-called or self-styled Jews in Eastern Europe were never Semites, are not Semites now, nor can they ever be regarded as Semites at any future time by any stretch of the imagination.
What's up, YouTube family? Welcome back to my space. This is Israel. Guys, thank you so much for tuning to watch today's episode. So guys, on today's video, we want to talk about who are the real Israelites. And to speak to us is a white man who claims that white Israelites are not the real Israelites. He says, and I quote, that white Israeli are not, the real Jews. The present Jews in Palestine are not true descendants of the Judeans, but rather descendants of the Khazars. The word Jew today has a religious as well as a political connotation. Judean is a geographic connotation. Judean is a geographic connotation. A Judean is someone from Judah. Rabbis are trained with the Talmud, which has a very little in common with the Bible. Many Jews that today live in the reconstituted state of Israel came from Eastern Europe and are not the descendants of Israel, or rather the lost tribe of Judeans. He says that many Jews that today live in the reconstituted state of Israel come from Eastern Europe. The last time I checked, somebody from Eastern Europe is a white man, and are not descendants of the Israelites. So in short, he reveals that white folks are actually not the real Israelites. So guys, I want you to watch this video as he just tries to debunk, the issue with Judeans and elaborate on who are the real Israelites. Once the video is done, we will get back and do a critical analysis about the same. Let's watch this together, family.
But they claim they want to build the temple. Now, I want to discuss a little bit of sensitive history. And if I go to sensitive history, well, then I must quote sources that say it rather than that I say it. This is a fascinating book, and the web pages are there. You can check it out. Facts are facts. This is a book that was written by a Jewish man. And he confronted the thinking of many of the high-placed individuals of the world. This is interesting stuff. In this book, Benjamin H. Friedman, a Jewish man, writes about the Jews and reveals an interesting history. He states that the present Jews in Palestine are not the true descendants of the Judeans, but rather descendants of the Khazars. In the letter addressed to D. David Goldstein of Boston, Massachusetts, a convert to Catholicism, the author Benjamin Friedman of New York City, dated October 1954, provides some fascinating insights. This is in the public domain. Let's study this for a while and see where we get. Benjamin H. Friedman claims that the word Jew was only introduced into the English language in the 18th century, and that Jesus referred to himself as a Judean and not as a Jew. Inscribed upon the cross when Jesus was crucified were the Latin words Iesus Nazarenus Rex Iodeorum, which means Jesus of Nazareth, ruler of the Judeans. Now this is fascinating. I went and checked it, and it is so. Yes, it happens to be so. Now the word Jew today has a religious as well as a political connotation. You think of a Jewish entity, a government, but you also think of their religion incorporated at the same time. Whereas the term Judean is a geographic connotation. It's a geographic. It doesn't incorporate the religion. It's where he came from. He was from Judah. He was a Judean. He further writes, the form of religious worship known as Pharisaism in Judea in the time of Jesus was a religious practice based exclusively upon the Talmud. The Talmud in the time of Jesus was the Magna Carta, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, all rolled into one, of those who practiced Pharisaism. The Talmud today occupies the same relative position with respect to those who profess Judaism. So the rituals and rites that many of them observed were based on the Talmud and not on the Torah. Rabbi Morris, this is all from the source. Rabbi Morris in Khazar wrote a most revealing and comprehensive article with the title, What is a Jew?, which was published as a feature article in Look magazine in June 17, 1952 issue. In that article, Rabbi Morris Khazar evaluated the significance of the Talmud to Judaism today. In that illuminating treatise and that important subject, by the most qualified authority at the time, Rabbi Morris N. Khazar stated, the Talmud consists of 63 books of legal, ethical, and historical writings of the ancient rabbis. It was edited 5 centuries after the birth of Jesus. It is a compendium of law and lore. It is the legal code which forms the basis of the Jewish religious law, and it is, note, the textbook used in the training of rabbis. So rabbis are trained according to the Talmud. And the Talmud has very little in common with the Bible. Then he states, from the birth of Jesus until this day, there have never been recorded more vicious and vile, libelous blasphemies of Jesus or Christians and the Christian faith by anyone, anywhere, or any time than you will find between the covers of the infamous 63 books, which are the legal code which forms the basis of the Jewish religious law as well as the textbook used in the training of rabbis. I don't want to go into it. If I were to put the quotes on the screen, which the Talmud contains about Jesus, you would be horrified. It is some of the vilest statements that I have ever had the dishonor of reading. And this is what their training consists of. He then proceeds to quote some of the most horrendous statements from the Talmud regarding ethical issues, and not only regarding ethical issues, which deal with many, many issues from economics to relations with women, etc., and of course, the view on Christ. As to the origin of the present Jews in Palestine, he states that those Jews derived from Eastern Europe, and many of the Jews that today live in the reconstituted state of Israel come from Eastern Europe, are not descendants of the Judeans or the lost tribes of Israel, but rather descendants of the Khazars. Who are they? They were a nation most people do not even know of. He writes, the so-called self-styled Jews in Eastern Europe in modern history cannot legitimately point to a single ancient ancestor who ever set even a foot on the soil of Palestine in the era of Bible history. Research also revealed that the so-called or self-styled Jews in Eastern Europe were never Semites, are not Semites now, nor can they ever be regarded as Semites at any future time by any stretch of the imagination. What secret, mysterious power has been able for countless generations to keep the origin and the history of the Khazars and the Khazar kingdom out of the history textbooks? Did you ever learn about it at school? I never learned about it. And out of classroom courses in history throughout the world, the origin and the history of Khazars and the Khazar kingdom are certainly incontestable historical facts. You have to do some cross-checking. Even the Jewish encyclopedia is quite explicit about it. This was the Khazar kingdom. Here is the Black Sea, the Byzantine Empire. Here was Persia. And here was the kingdom of the Khazars. It was a massive kingdom. Now let's look at some of this interesting history. The Khazars were an Asiatic nation. And the Jewish encyclopedia states Persian origin that converted to Talmudic Judaism. Now obviously some of the rabbis involved there could have been Judeans and probably were Judean descendants, but their converts are not Judeans. And that had conquered a vast area of Eastern Europe, which was in turn later conquered by the Russians in the 10th and 13th century. So that is why there are so many Russian Jews. Have you ever thought where they came from? Did they escape from Palestine? Were they the lost 10 tribes? Did they emigrate to Russia? No. This is a totally different nation that accepted Talmudic Judaism. He writes, after a historic session with representatives of the three monotheistic religions, King Bulan, 7th century, decided against Christian and Islam, because Islam had just arisen, and selected as the future state religion the religious worship then known as Talmudism, and not known and practiced as Judaism, which was totally different, which was based on the Bible. They adopted the Hebrew alphabet, and the Khazars adapted words to their requirements from the German, the Slavonic, and the Baltic languages. This language was known as Yiddish. And Yiddish used the Hebrew alphabetic characters, but not Hebrew. It's not Hebrew. It's Yiddish. I've always wondered, when I hear them speaking Yiddish, I understand quite a few words. Why? Because I'm German. They had many exchanges with universities and their students were trained. So here is another nation which had occupied this area, and they had adopted this religion and brought rabbis in and trained the people, but they were not Judean. Now let's jump to today. In accordance to this history, the religion of the modern state of Israel is based on Kabbalistic and Talmudic traditions and is far removed from the biblical worship of Yahweh. And if it is based on the Talmud, it is so anti-Jesus Christ that it belies understanding. And here we have, in March 2006, while visiting Yeshiva University at Brooklyn, New York, a Jewish institute dedicated to the study of the what? Talmud. We have Cardinal Kasper. Who's Cardinal Kasper? Cardinal Kasper is the cardinal associated with ecumenism. They are honoring the Talmud together. You see, behind the scenes, there is a pact. Because I, as a Christian, can sympathize with every other religion, but I cannot embrace a religion that speaks evil of Jesus Christ. Nor can I have a union with such a religion. Because can two walk together lest they be agreed? Now let's get back to the Napoleonic society. and see what happened further. Napoleon established both the Bank of France, we saw that, the French Bourse, the stock exchange, as well as the National Department of Tax Boards. Do we have all of those systems of governments in the world today, yes or no? Yes, we do. And we have the same system of economics today, yes or no? Yes. The world is run by the stock exchange. To ensure equitable taxation for all, consequently the income of the French peasants skyrocketed. Think tanks and research centers were established in France to work on projects vital for national economy. So a totally new economic order evolved. Who started these organizations? We will have to see. Who runs the secret societies today and the secret organizations? Who started them? Who is the instigator? Who's the boss behind the scenes? We will have to see. And maybe we'll get a different picture of what's happening in the world. An industrial board was organized to provide data and information to French industry, as exemplified by the success of the sugar beet farming and the canning industry. In the military, Napoleon pioneered in what we describe today as the principles of war. And did you know that these principles, the armies of today, are based on the organization created by Napoleon for his Grand Army, and it has been used ever since. Who controls these armies?
Family, that was a very, very powerful speech, and a very, very rare one, because not every day you'd find somebody talk against his race. You know, when he said that many Jews that today live in the reconstituted Israel, you know, are actually from Eastern Europe, and they are not the original Israelites. They just hit me so hard, and I decided that I'd go and do more research about the same, and I compiled a few notes just to explain what I found out in my research. The guy also says that these Eastern Europeans, you know, who right now are living, you know, in Israel, they don't point to a single ancient ancestor who ever set even a foot on the soil of Palestine in the era of the Bible history. They are not Semites now. They have never been regarded as Semites, you know, and they'll never, you know, be regarded as Semites. And this is what I found out from my research. The question of who are the real Israelites can be answered from several perspectives: historical, religious, and cultural perspectives. And here is a breakdown of the same. Let's start from the historical perspective. Historically, the Israelites were a Semitic people who lived in the ancient Near East. Israelites were a Semitic people. And remember from what I have written from the notes, you know, that this white guy has explained in the video, he says that they do not point out, you know, an ancient ancestor, whoever sets foot in the soil of the Palestine. They are not Semites now. They have never been regarded as Semites, and they do not have any correlation with the Semites. And in this historical perspective, according to my research, it says that Israelites were a Semitic people who lived in the ancient Near East. Just ruled them out. They were not a Semitic people. They are believed to be the descendants of the biblical patriarch Jacob, also known as Israel. Their story is told primarily in the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament. And here are some of the key facts. You know, this group of people emerged in the region of Canaan, the modern day Israel, Palestine, you know, around the late Bronze Age, between the 1200s and the 1000 BCE. Archaeological evidence points to a group in the Central Hill country that practiced a distinct form of religion, different from surrounding groups. Then now we have to look at it from a religious perspective. You know, Judaism teaches that Israelites are the chosen people of God, the descendants of the 12 sons of Jacob. In Christianity, the term can refer to both ancient Israelites and sometimes symbolically to Christians as spiritual Israel. The other part of spiritual Israel being referred as people from Judah, you know, God's chosen people, we understand it all, you know, in Christianity. But from the ancient stories, the ancient Israelites, we all know that this group of people were not them. Then Islam refers to Israelites, the Banu Israel, as people chosen by God, mentioned many times in the Quran. Number 3 is the modern Jewish people. Most scholars and religious authorities agree that modern Jews, the Ashkenazi, the Mizrahi, are largely descended from the ancient Israelites through various lines of continuity, religious, cultural, and genetic. Then there is other groups, claiming to be Israelites. There are several groups around the world that claim descent from the ancient Israelites. We have the Ethiopian Jews, the Beta Israel, recognized as Jews by Israel, claim descent from the tribe of Dan. Then we have Samaritans who claim to descend from the northern tribes of the ancient Israel. Then we have the Lemba people of southern Africa who have customs similar to the Jewish practices and some genetic links to Levantine priests, the Kohanim. Then you have the black Hebrew Israelites. A number of African American groups claim that they are true descendants of the ancient Israelites. This belief is based on religious interpretation and historical theories, though not supported by mainstream academia. Then number 5, we have scholarly consensus. The mainstream historians and the geneticists generally agree that ancient Israelites were Semitic people indigenous to the Levant. The modern Jewish communities, while diverse, maintain varying degrees of genetic and cultural continuity within the ancient Israelites. Guys, let me know in the comment section down below who you think are the original Israelites. Do you look like God's chosen people from a historical point of view or from a spiritual one? Because spiritually, any person chosen by God, is an Israelite. Any person chosen by God is their descendant. That's spiritually. Then now we look at it historically, where we are told that these people are Semitic people. And the last time I checked, the Eastern Europeans are not Semitic. That's why the guy in the video, the white man in the video, argues that there is no way, the original Israelites would be linked to white Israelites. Guys, comment down below. Let me know what you think about the same. Guys, kindly subscribe to the channel. Currently, we're on the road to 50,000 subscribers and we cannot do it without your support. Thank you and see you all in our next episode. Goodbye for now.